Hi, welcome to the Grief Awakening podcast. My name is Alyse Duso, and I'm a grief coach and Reiki practitioner here in Nashville, Tennessee. I help guide others who are grieving to reignite their relationships with their loved ones on the other side, helping them ease the ache of grief. This is a podcast where we can have open conversations about grief and loss, mediumship, science, and I'll even tell you my story as a young widow. If you like this episode, don't forget to hit that follow button. And if you'd like to reach out to me, feel free to give me a follow on Instagram at IntuitivelyAlyse. Enjoy the show. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Grief Awakening. So good to be back behind the mic this week with another solo episode. We're getting close to the end of the year. I cannot believe it. It's already the first week of December. So I just wanted to give you guys an update as far as scheduling goes. We will have one more episode next Friday, December 15th. That will be the last episode of the year. And then we'll be coming back the first week of January. I believe it will be the 6th that we will have our first episode at the new year. So we'll be taking like a 2-week break at the end of the season, which most of us will be traveling, spending time with family. I will be as well. And so this week we're going to be talking about how to have a not so griefy holiday and my tips and tricks for getting through the holiday season after loss. So we're going to get into that in just a minute, but I also wanted to update you guys that the podcast guide that I have briefly talked about in past episodes, it's finally out. It's called The Aligned Podcaster. You can get it for download on my website at IntuitivelyAlyse.com. This is a 20+ page guide that I created to help those of you who are interested in learning how to podcast, or maybe you're just like, you're just curious, you're wondering what goes into it, or maybe you're already in the planning phases, but you're feeling overwhelmed with all the logistics behind it. Grab this guide. It's for you. It's everything I wish I had known when I started podcasting. We're talking about the energetics of podcasting. So like, what is the energy behind your message and what you want to put out to the world? We're talking about how to name your show, my tips and tricks for that. We're talking about the best mics, equipment, all the things that you need to get started and hit publish on your first episode. So head over to IntuitivelyAlyse.com to grab the Aligned Podcaster Guide, and you can download it, have it forever. And of course, send me any questions that you have. Okay, so before I jump into my tips and tricks for the holiday, I wanted to tell you guys a quick sign story. And if you're listening for the first time to the show, welcome. And when I say sign story, I'm talking about the signs and symbols that we've received from our loved ones in spirit to let us know they are here with us in the physical world. It's just a validation that they are around. And this can come through in a lot of different ways. It can be objects, symbols, songs, numbers. Literally, it is like infinite possibilities when it comes to signs and what they have the capacity to send us and for us to receive. So this sign story happened just 2 days ago, and I've been really good throughout my grief journey over the last 3.5 years after the loss of my partner, Jared, of letting go of things in my own timing and letting go of pieces of him in our old life that I feel like I'm connected to, or, things I just couldn't let go of yet. Like right when he passed, I held on to them. And one of those things was his phone and our cell phone plan. It seems so silly to like, Alyse, like, why are you holding on to his cell phone line? Like, that makes zero sense. His phone doesn't even work. He's not using it, right? No one's using it. I just emotionally, I wasn't ready for anyone else to have his phone number. In the beginning, the first year or two, I would text his phone number a lot, even though I knew he was not on the other end to respond. I think before I was really speaking to him in the spirit world, that was my way. Texting him was like my way of like sending a message to him. like the physical act of like typing and sending it, you know, just like when we talk to them in present tense, sometimes through like a social media post or something like that, you know, we'll say, oh, we miss you so much. We know that they're not physically there to read it on their phones, but we hope that wherever they are in heaven, in the spirit world, that they are able to see this message that we're sending to them. Because that's the intention behind it, is right. You write it or you send it with the intention of them seeing it. And so I really do believe it gets to them. And so I was sending him texts occasionally, just telling him I miss him. Or like, I remember one time sitting in a coffee shop and like I saw one of our favorite CrossFit athletes walk in, and it felt like I was seeing, like in our world, like in Jared and I's world, it felt like I was seeing a celebrity. And I remember texting him to be like, oh my gosh, you'll never guess who just walked into the coffee shop that I was at. And um, I knew he wasn't physically receiving it, but it felt good to send the messages. And I also wanted to leave it open and available for his siblings or his mother or any other family members to be able to write him messages or leave him a voicemail if they felt called to, because it's a part of healing. And when we're in grief, like we need every little piece of that we can get. And so now we're 3.5 years out, and it's finally feeling like the time for me to let that little piece go. And so I was doing some research on, you know, changing our cell phone service, our plan. I'm like, do I need to get a whole new plan, or like, can I just delete his number? Like, I was seeing what my options were because our cell phone plan was under his name, it's his account. And although I had been paying it for the last 3.5 years, it was still, everything was under his name, which of course, when you lose a partner, there's like a lot of background logistical stuff like that you usually have to take care of right off the bat. This was something I just like put on the back burner. And so a few nights ago, I was on T-Mobile's like customer service page, and it said like, you can call this 1-800 number to contact customer service, or just dial 611 from your T-Mobile phone. Like, when it took a second for it to register, but when I saw those numbers, 611, 611, just dial 611. That's all you got to do. Just dial 611. And I was shook. And for those of you who are not familiar, 611 or June 11th is the day that Jared passed away. And over the last 3 years, he's been sending me 611 as a sign from him. To me, it comes through as like, it's like a little kiss from him. It's like, hey babe, I'm here. Like he just sends me a little kiss every time I see 611, I say, thank you, babe. I love you. And so I dialed the 611, go through the, you know, recorded menu options. I immediately get put on hold. And the song that comes on when I get put on hold, like, you know, they play like elevator music or whatever. The song was Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer. And if you're not familiar with this song, then you probably have never seen a 90s rom-com because it's in so many movies from my childhood, or my teenage years, I should say. And when I heard this come on and it registered that she was, you know, she was saying, kiss me beneath the melting twilight. I got so excited, and it was so brief. It was like the end of the song. It was so brief, but I was like, oh my God, like my mind was blown. He was just sending me, it was like an extra, it was like a double sign. It was a sign for my sign, which I don't usually ask for, but I got it and I was so excited. And unfortunately, they weren't able to help me just yet. I'm going to be getting a call back in a couple days because it is a bit more complicated because he's passed and the account's in his name. There's like some logistical stuff they have to figure out, but I thought it'd be a simple task and it's just not. So I'm going to have to call them back again, but I was so excited to receive that sign. And shout out to Lee Nash if you're ever listening to this. I love you and I love that song, and I'm just so grateful to have received it in that moment. Okay, I promise I'm going to get into the tips and tricks in just a moment, but I also wanted to quickly talk about something I saw on social media last week or the week before, and I haven't gotten to chat about it yet. But there's this one account in the grief community that is a very big account on social media. They have a very large following. I don't know if it's one person behind the account because it's kind of like a faceless account. It's like they just repost and reshare other people's grief stories and videos and content. And so I know that they have like an app that you can sign up for to support, to like get group support and connect with other people who are grieving. And they put out this thing on their stories, and it lit a fire in me. Okay. And I'm not going to call them out or say what the account name is. I'll let you guys figure that out if you want to, but here's what it said in their stories. It says, "Everyone says that time heals, but I don't want to heal. This pain keeps me close to you. I'm worried that as time goes on, I'll forget all the small things." And so let that sink in for just a second. Everyone says that time heals, but I don't want to heal. This pain keeps me close to you. When I read this, part of me felt really angry, and part of me felt like, like I've been there. I have. There were definitely moments in the first 6 months of my grief journey where I felt like as long as I continued to stay sad and upset and angry and in my deep grief, then I felt closer to the incident. I felt closer to my loved one. It felt like the loss, like the time of the loss wasn't so far away, and therefore not as much time had passed when truly time was still passing, whether I liked it or not. And it's almost like staying sad or upset made me feel more connected to the incident and that time period of my life. And so I feel the pain that the person writing this probably is in. And at the same time, I think it's so irresponsible to post something like this, especially when it's followed underneath by a link to join their grief support community, like meet people who are also in that same boat. To me, it came off as, hey, stay in pain so you can join our grief support group. And so you can see how that would rub someone the wrong way. But truly, when I read it, is like, oh my gosh, I wish this person could know that they can feel close to their loved one without forcing themselves to stay in pain, stay in sadness. You can connect with your loved one through joy and gratitude and happy moments, just like in that sign story I was just telling you, right? Feeling seeing that number come through and hearing the song and feeling in that moment him supporting me, I was elated. I was in joy, and I felt so connected to him. Those are the moments that we are seeking here. And for someone to say, this pain keeps me close to you, it breaks my heart. And also, people need to know that there is another way. There is another way to do this. And that's what we're doing here in this space, on this show, in grief coaching containers, on social media. I feel like this is growing within the grief community. People are starting to more and more talk about this, connecting in with your loved one through signs and symbols, dreams, songs, all the beautiful things that they have the ability to show us as validation. We can receive that and feel close to them through joy, gratitude, peace, happiness, excitement, all the higher vibration emotions. And so for a huge account to post this, we're talking about, 6-figure followers here. Okay. So like, this is not just a couple thousand people. This is going out to hundreds of thousands of people to say to them, hey, just stay in pain so you'll feel close to your loved one. I think that's irresponsible. And I hope those people eventually, time and the universe will bring them to this space or a space like this, whether if it's me or somebody else, that shows them you can connect in another way. You can connect in through joy and happiness and gratitude and feel good and still feel so close and connected to your loved one in spirit. And that's the goal, right? Move forward with them. Don't move on without them. So I'm going to get off that soapbox for a second. And we will get to the content of this episode. I just felt really called to share about that. And I hope that you guys hear that and can feel compassion like I do for this person who wrote this. And I feel the pain and the space that this was written from. And I also see and know that there's a better way. So it is what it is. It was shared to hundreds of thousands of people. I'm sure they got a lot of people joining their app from this one little share on their story. And I hope that those people are able to connect in with their loved ones. And I hope that it's not pain that keeps them there. Okay. So like I said, the holidays are coming up. Whatever it is that you're going to be celebrating this year, the end of this year into next year. I know there's probably a lot of moments and days coming up that maybe you're already starting to feel anxious about, of how you're going to navigate them. How are you going to include your loved one and their memory into those days? How are you going to navigate talking about them or not talking about them, or who is it safe to talk about it with? And I want to just give you a couple of my tips and tricks for moving through this season and keeping your peace and sanity as we do it. So here we go. We're going to start with some of the things that I have kind of carried through the last couple of years as a way to stay connected to my partner, Jared. And one of the things that I think is the most important is, and this is more about you than about them, and that's just making sure you can make space and time for you and sticking to your boundaries. So you're going to get, over the next couple of weeks, you're going to be getting a lot of invitations to go to different events, maybe your kids' school, extended family might invite you to Christmas parties, work parties, all the things, right? And I think if your loved one is someone who is a part of your everyday, like a partner or a child or a parent, maybe even a grandparent, going to all of these events and being a part of the hustle and bustle of the holidays is going to be hard. It just is. Grief during the holidays is like just a more exasperated version of the regular grief that we experience every single day, because we're going through like what's supposed to be this happy, beautiful season without them, and they're not getting to experience it. And we feel like grief for that. We feel grief for them, or like sadness that they're, like FOMO for them, like they get to miss out on this beautiful season. When truly we know, like, right, we're starting to know and learn that they're here with us always, and they do get to celebrate these seasons with us. But in the thick of it, it's hard to know that, of course. So as you're getting invites for things and you're feeling like you just don't have the capacity, it's okay to stick to what you know that you need for yourself, which may be time and space to be alone. Maybe you don't say yes to every party. Maybe this season you're like, I don't have the capacity to go to anything. I don't even know if I can go to my mom's house on the day and join the whole family with extended family and stuff. Like, I want you to honor that. Honor your space and your boundaries that you need to feel your best, because it's already hard enough that you've lost your loved one. There's no need for you to try and please or show up for other people if you're not going to be honoring your own needs, and then you're going to feel worse in the end. You're not letting anyone down. It's okay. I think the biggest thing is just being honest and open with those you love about, hey, like, if they sent you an invite to something and they're like, I can't wait to see you there. I'm so excited to spend the holiday with you. You can respond back and say, thank you so much for this invite. I unfortunately don't feel like I have the capacity right now to socialize. It can be that simple. But I'm so excited. I'll see you after the new year. Like, I would love to spend time with you another day, one-on-one. You'll find the right language for it, whatever feels good with you and your loved ones, but just know that you don't have to say yes to every party, every event. Make space and time for you. Even within that, say you decide to go to a party, you go to the big holiday extended family Christmas event, and you're there and you find that you're feeling a little overwhelmed. I want you to feel safe enough to take that space that you need, and say you need to leave an hour early, or you need to go step outside for 30 minutes by yourself and have a moment alone. Do that. Be so diligent about listening to your body and listening to your boundaries and the space that you need to take up, because it's going to be so important to help you move through this holiday. I know it's already so heavy on its own. And I think that listening to our own needs and taking that space when we need it is going to be so important. Okay, so listening to your body and making space for you, sticking to your boundaries, those are my first two tips. Okay. This one is going to be a little bit, this might feel right for you and it might not. All of these might feel right for you, or they won't. You'll find what does work. But one thing I would suggest is, say this is this is one of your first holidays without your loved one. Maybe, just for example, like say, your grandmother passed and she is known for like these amazing meals that she makes at the holidays. Maybe she typically hosts the holiday for you and your family, and your mother's feeling upset. Like it just Christmas or whatever holiday you're celebrating is not feeling the same. One thing that you guys can do to bring in the energy of your loved one, so in this case, your grandmother, maybe make a suggestion of doing like a potluck dinner where everyone brings a potluck meal of their grandmother's favorite foods or the things that they used to make. Like everyone tries their hand at making her favorite recipes. Doing those little things like that, or even maybe you're hosting and you lost your partner this year and you ask your family members to all bring something that reminds them of your partner, your loved one. It can be a drink, it can be a dessert, it can be the bread basket, like whatever it is. Ask everyone to contribute in a way that honors their memory of your loved one and yours. I think is really beautiful. So like all coming together. It's not even anything you have to like speak about out loud. It's just like this beautiful undertone. People come together and you're bringing something in memory of someone you love who cannot be there. So consider having meals and gatherings where you bring something that reminds you of your loved one, whether that's a food, maybe a game that you play after dinner that your loved one really loved to play with everyone, like little things like that to bring them into the conversation, to bring their memory in, will be really helpful and important for you during this season. Okay. The next one is leaving an empty chair for your loved one. So this might feel a little weird, or maybe it won't. But if you're hosting this season and you're feeling like grief is at the table, leave an empty seat for it. Leave an empty seat for your loved one in honor of them, of their absence, their physical absence at your holiday event or party. Or maybe if you're going somewhere and you're close with the host, asking them in advance if they would mind leaving an empty chair at the table in honor of your person. I think that's a really beautiful way to honor them. And it's something just like the food, it can be unspoken. If people in your world are uncomfortable with talking about their grief, this is a beautiful way of bringing it into the space without actually having to speak it. And just leaving that chair open. You can even put like a little reserved thing on it or something like that at the seat. Leaving an empty chair for grief at the table is a beautiful way to honor your loved one during the season. Another one, and this is probably more related to people who are celebrating Christmas, but when you are getting ready for the season and prepping, and maybe you are setting up the Christmas tree for the first time this season without your loved one, letting your children join and hang up, maybe they're like, say you lost your partner and you have children together, letting your children hang up their dad's favorite ornament, your partner's favorite ornaments, or letting them do certain activities around decorating that maybe dad once did or your partner once did. I think that's a beautiful way of honoring them. And when it comes to decorating the house or having different traditions around the holidays, I think a beautiful way is to choose what traditions still feel good and let go of the ones that don't. I've talked about this last year. Some things you used to do with your loved one might not feel good anymore. Or maybe you were never really all excited about it, but they were. And so you loved it because they loved it. If you're not feeling excited about those things, you don't have to do it. Just like going to the parties, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. And I think that making the extra effort to even do the things that you love to do together and continuing those traditions are a beautiful way to honor them and bring them into the present. I still have Jared and I's Christmas stockings hung up every single year. I know they're not going to be filled. I know that Jared doesn't need his stocking hung up. But I continue to hang them in memory of him and all the Christmases that we shared together. Just like I hung up his little Mandalorian Christmas ornament and his Star Wars Christmas ornaments on my little mini tree here. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the little cute tree that I have sitting beside me. I continue to hang up his favorite ornaments, and so does his mom. We've divvied them up, and I continue to do those little things to honor him each year, even though I know he's not here physically to enjoy them. I do it in memory of him. So carrying on little traditions, whether it be letting your kids hang up dad's ornaments, or if your grandmother loved to go see a certain Christmas show every year, maybe you go with your family in honor of her. Finding little ways to carry them through the holidays with you is a beautiful way to honor them during the holiday. And once again, being able to honor them without physically having to talk about it if you don't feel ready to, or if your family's not ready to. Okay. The next thing is taking a moment with your family to talk about a favorite holiday memory with your loved one. So this is more the option for the people who are more open to conversation around grief. And maybe bringing up this conversation might help them get there. At the end of your holiday parties and dinners, if everyone's sitting around the table and you're all stuffed and have just enjoyed a beautiful meal together, maybe taking a moment and asking everyone to share a favorite memory, a favorite holiday memory that they have with your loved ones who have passed, and giving everyone space to do that, or to pass and not do that if they don't want to. But if you feel like everyone is open to sharing and talking about it, that's a beautiful way to bring them into the conversation and being able to feel like, they're there and present with you and close. And it's always fun to hear stories that other people have that maybe you didn't know about or didn't get to experience yourself, and getting to hear it through their perspective, through their eyes. Okay, so that was all the tips I had for you. Have your holiday potluck loved one meal. Leave an empty chair at the table for your loved one if that feels good. Make sure you make space and time for your own alone time, keeping up with your boundaries during this holiday season so you can keep your energy good in a good place, listening to your body, saying no to events that feel hard. Let people join in on holiday traditions, or let go of traditions that don't feel good anymore. And take a moment to talk about your loved one if that feels good with those around you. All of these little tips, I hope they help you through this holiday season. I think the most important one is going to be listening to your body, especially if this is your first season without your loved one. A lot of this is going to feel hard for the first time, and there's going to be heavy days. You might find you wake up on the day of the holiday that you're celebrating and that you just don't feel like you can do it. And that's okay. I want as much as you can, as much as you're able to, honor that and let yourself feel what you need to feel. And also know that there are ways to carry them with you through the holiday. And maybe you can try a couple of those other things I suggested, if you feel like your loved ones and the people around you are open to it. So I hope that was helpful for you. As I said, we're going to get together again next Friday for one more episode this month, and then we'll be coming back in the first week of January. So I hope as you're getting ready for all the fun stuff ahead, you are able to take time to connect in with your loved ones, feel them close to you, and feel them celebrating along with you. Okay, we will be back next week. Until then, bye. Okay, friends, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Grief Awakening podcast. If you liked this episode, be sure to leave it a rating and a review, and don't forget to hit that + button or the follow button so you don't miss another episode. As always, any resources mentioned during this episode will be listed in the show notes below. And if you'd like to reach out to me, feel free to do so via email or on Instagram at IntuitivelyAlyse. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.